This week's podcast is sponsored by Our Legal, a boutique law firm specializing in commercial law and pioneering a new way of legal practice. You can find Our Legal on social media, LinkedIn and Instagram, or at www.ourlegal.com.au. Hello, everybody.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 5 with the JJ brothers.
Five and live, proudly sponsored by Our Legal.
We've already got some people on the live stream. So if you're listening to this on one of our podcasts or one of our recordings, we go live on our Facebook, and we're encouraging everyone to please join us on our Facebook, which is
absolutely
the JJ Brothers 2020.
Yes, please give us a like and share and accommodate any comments you'd like to.
Yeah,
you would like.
So,
how are we all?
I'm doing well, Joey. How are you?
Mate, you know, I'm doing okay, but I'd really like to ask you personally, how was your week, man?
This week hasn't been too bad. It's I'm preparing for a big change in my life because I'm moving out of Sydney. So that's a new thing for me. So that's going to happen next weekend.
Yeah.
So I guess just
you're escaping the rat race.
Well, yeah, it's funny actually. The coronavirus seems to be moving on now. The roads, the traffic's really picked up this week. I don't know if you've noticed that. Probably not so much down here.
Yeah.
Up in Sydney, the traffic's getting crazy again, and just the real busy feeling is really there again. So I definitely love to get out of that rat race and get out of that craziness of the city life and back into something more peaceful. And I'm moving down to Bulli. It's right near the ocean. It's this really beautiful, beautiful spot. And there's rolling hills in the background. And it's just going to be serenity.
Ocean.
Yeah, exactly right.
By the ocean. What's that song? By the ocean.
So how have you been this week? Like well and truly.
Up and down, but in general quite up. I'm noticing a massive correlation to the habits that I create. You know, the habits that I continue to enforce in my life are really cool. Like we bought a rebounder from Facebook.
A rebounder? Tell us what a rebounder is, Joey.
Yeah, so a rebounder is a small trampoline. It's how good's Facebook Marketplace? $20. $20.
$20.
Yeah.
Do you know what they're usually worth?
Yeah, about $100 at least. Yeah, some guy just bought it. It's got like a little scratch on it. Who cares, right? $20.
Well, you're jumping on it, right? It's
yeah. So we just use that. Like, you know, Nelly and my wife and Miller, we just jump on it every so often and shake up the blood cells. And I learned that trick off Tony Robbins. You know, he's like rebounding. You got to rebound. I don't know if that's a good Tony Robbins impression.
Right. Yeah.
Sorry, Tony.
You have to be deeper voice.
Sorry, Tony, if you ever get the chance to
more demanding about everything you say.
Absolute certainty. Absolute certainty. You got to rebound for 15 minutes a day. Right?
Beautiful.
Right? I'm 7 foot tall. I love you, Tony. I love you.
We're getting so much love here from Joshua Yunan. Josh, it is great that you're on the line. And yes, cuz I am moving out of Sydney, unfortunately, but it doesn't mean I'm going to see you. So it's only an hour out of Sydney. So I'll definitely still see the family. So do not stress. I love you. So we do have a beautiful guest today, it's our first woman. And
yay!
She goes by the name of Sharon Chisholm. And Sharon, if you don't know, is from the documentary on SBS called How Mad Are You?
Yeah.
And Sharon is just a powerhouse. She's been through so much in her life. First and foremost, she's made her way over from England to Australia I was going to say Sydney, but she's actually up in the Central Coast.
Welcome from the motherland.
Yes, from the motherland. And Sharon has been through so much, and I really want to tap into that today and get her story out to the people and share some of the tools she's used to overcome some of the adversities and maybe even talk about How Mad Are You, the documentary, because it was a whirlwind of an experience, and she's got a lot of personal experience from that documentary herself. So it would be good to tap into that as well.
And we're going to try, hopefully she's not listening to this, we're going to try and make her laugh. I'm personally, my attack is to try and make her laugh as much as possible.
We definitely will be getting Sharon laughing today.
Her laugh is so beautiful. I picked up on that in the conversation we had during the week.
Yeah.
It was sensational.
Definitely.
It's so beautiful. It's so soothing. And laughter. We just elaborate on laughter.
She's a real pure person. Like you get what you see with Sharon, and I just love that. And I'm sure that's going to come across today to everybody tuning in.
Yeah.
And those that are tuning in, you can probably see that we look a lot more ugly this week because we're in high definition. We have upgraded our videos. So
that ethnic sweat or the oil coming off our forehead,
the shine off our heads. And that's not grease, that's just our skin.
Yeah. We are very
but hopefully our smiles are shining too, and they're lighting up your morning. And yes, of course, we're going to tune in with a hug. A nice little self-hug.
I was thinking the same thing, man. But it's your turn this week because I did it last week. So you're going to lead us for a self-hug. Everybody watching, please follow James's lead.
Well, the HD's probably going to show us our sweaty pits now, aren't they? So mind the sweaty pits. But let's go, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get our arms out nice and wide. Try not to block Joey's face.
That's okay.
And bring in that hug nice and tight. Squeeze.
Authentic hug.
That shit out.
Hide yourself in the bathroom and do it if you have to.
Feel nice and tight and cozy.
How good is a good hug?
I love a hug.
You can hug yourself anytime. It's free.
Yeah, it is.
It's free.
It is too.
You know?
Definitely.
And if someone hugs you involuntarily, we've got Our Legal to back you up. So
Our Legal. Yes, our first sponsor.
Yeah.
So our first paid sponsor, we should say. So last week we had the great sponsor of Your Best Friend's Butcher.
Yeah.
This week we have Our Legal, and Our Legal will follow us for a few episodes and keep us on our toes.
Yeah. So who is Our Legal anyway?
So it's a good friend of ours. His name is Ricky Rard, and he's an absolute legend. He's really on board with us.
You hear that, Ricky?
What we're doing.
We know you're watching.
Yeah, we know you're watching, Ricky. The jaw of the gods.
The god of Odin.
Great beard of Odin. Ricky's a legend. I'd love to get Ricky on here in the future if he's up for it. But yeah, today's all about Sharon. So let's keep talking Sharon, and maybe we can admit her into the conversation. Is there anything else you wanted to discuss before we get her in?
I just want people to really pay attention to her laugh and how many times we try to make her laugh. But really pay attention to her story, man. It's really powerful when you hear someone's story, right? Because everyone's got a story, and that's what we aim to bring you, the greatest stories from our local community and people that we've met.
Definitely. The stories, the adversities, the tools they've used to overcome those adversities. Maybe some tools that can help you through whatever you're going through right now in your life. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to empower each and every person out there listening to this, whether it's currently now live or in the future on one of the recordings.
And we hope to build trust with you guys, our audiences, and just spread trust, because we really want you to trust us so that we can give you those tools.
Yes.
And you try them for yourself, and if they don't work, reach out and tell us why.
Yes, definitely.
Any tools or any perspectives or anything that we're trying to give you, please tell us, give us feedback.
Yes.
And share our stuff if it worked. If it worked,
exactly
great.
Right.
If it didn't work, it doesn't work for everybody, but we try our best.
So Joey's spot on. We are looking for feedback, and we want to hear back from everybody. So if we have impacted you in a positive way, please let us know. If you're interested in sponsoring us, please let us know. If you're interested in anything we're doing or the direction we're taking, or if you want any questions,
or
anything,
if you're just getting paid to tap the love emojis,
that's little Josh Unan, what a legend, giving us all the love.
Oh man, that's awesome. Thank you, Josh, and thanks guys for the comments. We will attend to them in good time, I believe.
All right. So without further ado, we might welcome Sharon into the conversation.
Ladies and gentlemen, standing in at 9'8". With her beautiful personality.
9'8".
9'8", the tallest woman ever to live. Robert Wadlow was the tallest man ever to live, but we've got Sharon Chisholm.
And here she comes.
Hello, Sharon.
There she is, Sharon.
Hello. How are you?
Good, thanks.
I'm doing good too, Sharon. How are you?
I am jolly good, thank you.
Jolly good, old fella. Jolly good.
How has the week been for you, Sharon? And how are you surviving this crazy coronavirus?
Oh, look, it's it's a funny time, and I can't quite get my head around the fact that the kids go back to school next week. That all just seems a little premature to me.
Yeah,
But I think a lot of us have just adapted to this new normal. But in the shops, people just don't seem to be doing the whole distancing thing, and it's freaking me out a little bit.
So do they need Sharon to be like, hey, jolly good, but separate yourselves, eh? Come on, this is bollocks. Don't be standing next to your cupboard, innit?
This accent, your accents, man, you need to work on them.
I do. I was dipping in and out of Cockney and posh there. Sorry about that.
I'm so glad you just said bollocks, because I was like, am I allowed to swear?
Oh, you can swear as much as you want.
Go for your life. Feel free to be you.
So the one rule is, as long as you're not offending anybody, but if it's showing your passion, please let it flow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Sharon, we've got a lot of messages flooding in as soon as you joined. It's Shazza from the telly. So that's come through from Anastasia. We have Nat Crew that said, yay, Shazza. So that's great.
Anastasia,
And we
I
have
love you.
our first question about
Ooh.
who is that in the background of
Oh!
Sharon's screen?
That's Tom, my boyfriend.
Your boyfriend. Tell us about Tom. Who's Tom?
Well, that's Tom Hardy, who's my favourite actor.
So for those listening in, Sharon has a full-size cutout of Tom Hardy in a suit looking quite suave. Yeah.
Isn't he wonderful? My gorgeous friend Shannon sent him for my birthday. And when I opened it, I may have weed just a little because I was so excited.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Sharon,
I'm going to laminate him so I can shower with him.
Have you told
Have
you told him to just stand there the whole time? Like he's really disciplined to get.
He does what he's told.
Yeah.
So yes, he's a good boy.
Well. Sharon, I know we're having so much fun, but let's get stuck in. I'd love to know about your story. And obviously we know each other from How Mad Are You, but let's dig in deeper than that. And how did you make your way over to Australia? How did you find yourself here? What's the story that goes along with that?
Well, once upon a time, there was, no, seriously. I grew up in the UK. I was there until I was 32. And just before my 30th birthday, I broke up with a long-term partner. Well, actually, he broke up with me and went off with someone else, but there you go. So I decided that I wanted to do something really big for my 30th, and I booked a trip to Australia. Wow. Fell in love with it, went to the rainforest, did the Great Ocean Road, went to Sydney, and loved the country, loved the people, loved the way of life. Went back home.
You obviously never went to Sydney.
What's that?
You obviously never went to Sydney if you love the people.
Yeah.
I'm just mucking around.
Yeah. You obviously didn't land where Captain Cook did.
Well, I hadn't really spent a whole lot of time in Sydney. Or, I mean, when you're a tourist, you do, the Opera House and the gardens and a bit of shopping. Yeah. It's not the same as living and working there. So I spent the next 2 years thinking about moving here, and I was very lucky in that a friend I'd worked with in recruitment a number of years before had come over to recruit for the Olympics. And then she'd opened her own agency. So she said, look, I can sponsor you to move here. Why don't you come out and on holiday and we'll talk about how it's going to work. So I came out here in April of 2002 to sort out my visa. And while I was here, I went to stay with a friend in Tamworth. And she organised for me to go paragliding. Well, the paragliding instructor and I hit it off.
Oh, wow.
And
paragliding instructor.
I know. And he'd already organised a paragliding trip of Europe. So I said, well, come and visit me in England, which he did. And then I moved here on the 2nd of September 2002, and I was pregnant 4 weeks later with our daughter.
Oh, that was quick. Wow. That was a high flyer.
It was a little bit of a shock.
Yeah, I bet.
Paragliding pregnant. Wow.
I know, right? Who would have thunk it?
While paragliding, I shouldn't be asking that.
No, it was when he landed on top of me in the field full of thistles. That's what did it.
Yeah, yeah.
That sounds like a movie.
I know it is, isn't it? So it was a bit of a shock, particularly for our families. I'd kind of just moved here, and so it was, what do we do? Are we doing this? Aren't we doing this? And 18 years later, we're still here, and we've got 2 kids, and so that's how I ended up here. And had I not fallen pregnant, who knows if I would have stayed or whether I would have ended up going home. But
I, for one, can say, Sharon, I am so grateful that you stayed, because you are such a powerful person, and I am so blessed to have you in my life. You have really, really brought so much love into my life, and I'm so grateful, so grateful.
Well, that's so lovely. Thank you.
So beautifully cheesy, man. That's amazing. That's beautiful.
Sharon is amazing, and as we go through this podcast, you'll start to love her, and I'm sure everybody out there is going to love Sharon. She's just Sharon. I love you. Okay, so you arrived in Australia, and you fall pregnant. So what happens from there? How do you go between getting pregnant, staying in Australia, and getting onto How Mad Are You? Can you fill in that space in between?
Oh gosh. Okay. So, so I finished working when I was about 5 months pregnant. And then Kevin and I moved down near Wollongong, and we were living there for a while. And of course, he then, because when Kev was teaching paragliding, he was living in this 2-room wooden hut, like 40 k's out of Tamworth, in the middle of Hicksville.
Oh, wow.
You know, earning $50 a week. So of course, he had a baby on the way, and had to go and get a proper job. So which he did.
What, paragliding's not a proper job?
It might be a proper job, but it certainly doesn't pay very well.
Okay. High risk being a father and paragliding.
Up your game, paragliding community.
Absolutely. So he got a proper job, and we lived in Coaldale for a while, just north of Wollongong. And he was working for a company down there. And then we decided that we wanted to move up to Queensland, near to where his sister lived, which we did. So we were west of Brisbane. And then it's a bit all over the place, this story. Then, because he couldn't get any work up there, we decided to move down to Victoria, because he'd been offered a job.
I've been everywhere, man.
Exactly, right?
Wow.
Just because it's written on the toilet wall that I've been everywhere doesn't mean I have.
So that's why you're a pleasant person to speak to, because you're mainly from Victoria.
Oh, well, I wasn't a big fan.
It's so social, I found.
Victorian people are very,
not
very
dissing
more
Sydney
open.
siders, because Sydney sider represent.
100%.
Represent. That's where we're from. Right. Sorry to interrupt.
That's all right. So we lived in the Macedon Ranges for a while, and Kev was doing railway signalling and testing. So we were down there for maybe, I don't know, 8 months. And while I was down there, Emily turned 1, and I was then diagnosed with postnatal depression.
Okay.
So, you know, that was kind of
your first diagnosis in your life.
I'd had anxiety since I was about 5, and I don't know whether I was actually ever, you know, I don't know that my mum ever took me to the doctor about it. So I then started seeing a psychologist, and really it was kind of up and down from there for a number of years.
Well
I was
done.
on
Well done for the first step.
Yeah, 100%. So was the diagnosis straight from the GP, and then you were pushed on to a psychologist? Is that how it worked, or was the psychologist the one to diagnose you?
No, it was the doctor. I'm just actually trying to remember if I saw a psychologist back then, or whether I was just recommended antidepressants. I honestly can't remember. Some of that's a bit of a blur.
Talking to Sharon's amygdala. Back of her head. Come on, Sharon's amygdala. Let's remember.
Like, a lot of my memory is gone. So I was on and off antidepressants for and probably until about 5 years ago, and I didn't like the idea that I was on antidepressants, and so I'd try and come off them, thinking, well, if I get depressed again, I'll be able to see the signs and recognize what's happening. But every single time I would just find myself in that dark black hole again and think, how did I get here? How did I not realize what was going on?
Is this a separate depression to the postnatal depression?
Look, I think it was just perhaps triggered by my pregnancy, you know, being in a new place, not knowing anybody, because I started feeling quite down even when I was pregnant. So who knows whether it was the hormones or just being in a new place. Who knows what started that off. So I guess at some point it moves from being postnatal depression to depression. Who knows? But so
really, thank you for explaining this, man. This part of your life is not easy. It's not easy to talk about this, and I'm really grateful personally, and I'm sure the listeners are grateful for just listening to this. It's not easy to talk about it. So thank you, Sharon.
Oh no, my pleasure. So, on and off, I was on antidepressants. I wasn't on antidepressants. And every time that I'd come off antidepressants, I was off them for a while, and then found myself depressed again, I'd always feel like a real failure.
Wow.
Why didn't I see the signs? How can I not just
You're hard on yourself, very hard.
Pull my socks up and get on with it.
And what were you doing for work during this time? Is this when you were in the mental health space already? Because I know for a fact that you were in the mental health space. No, so you're not yet.
No. I was not working at all. I was just because Kev started doing fly in, fly out.
Yes.
So I was just home with the kids, which is enough to drive anyone bonkers. So yeah, lots of feeling like a failure, and I'd always wanted children. I'd always known that one day I would have kids, and I always imagined I'd be this real earth mother, cooking everything from scratch and sewing clothes out of hemp, or
having a Tom Hardy cardboard piece right behind you.
Exactly. Right. So it came as a shock that I actually wasn't that person, and I really, really struggled with being a mum. I felt like I had no clue what I was doing. Didn't know why they were crying, didn't know how to stop them crying. And when I was pregnant with Ben, my second child, I thought, well, I've done this all before, I know what I'm doing. But no, because obviously babies are different. So there was a lot of guilt, and there was a lot of shame, and very, very hard on myself over those years. And then about 5 years ago, maybe even 6 now, my husband was chatting to someone, and he's always said that I'm like an elevator. I'm either at penthouse or basement. There's no kind of in between. And they said, oh, has she ever been checked for bipolar? And my husband was quite affronted, and he came home and said, you won't believe what this person said to me. Anyway, I said, I have thought about it in the past, but everything I'd read about bipolar described the extreme mania and psychosis. And I'd never experienced any of that. I'd only experienced the depressive episodes. But I thought, look, sorry, you're going to say something, James?
Oh, yeah, you saw me take the breath in, didn't you?
He's like a loaded gun, hey? You can hear that.
Yeah. I'm just really intrigued as to the diagnosis of depression and then on and off of the antidepressants. Was at any time you were checked for other mental health or any other diagnoses, or was there any conversations around how you feel, for example, to come to a conclusion of bipolar? Because it seems very odd to come from a suggestion from somebody who knows your husband in order to find that diagnosis.
Oh, absolutely. It was really just by chance. Because I made an appointment at the doctor's. I thought this might be worth exploring. So I made an appointment at the doctor's to have a chat with him about the possibility of bipolar. And in the meantime, I read and I read and I read as much as I could. And I knew by the time I even saw the psychiatrist, I knew that that's what it was, because I don't know how much you know about bipolar, but there's different kinds of bipolar. So the thing that everyone imagines is the really extreme mania where people are, and there's all sorts of behaviors. So just to name a few, extreme spending, taking risks, reckless behavior, so believing that you are someone you're not. So maybe believing that you're God or Jesus, or and I'd never experienced that, but I had experienced the very serious depressions and at times some suicidal ideation. So when I had a chat with the psychiatrist, they said, look, I think it might be bipolar type 2. So what that means is, rather than being fully manic, I'm something called hypermanic, which means that I get extremely focused on something for a period of time. So it might be a week, it might be a month. And in my case, it was usually a new business idea. So I'd decide, I'm going to restore furniture, and I'd go out and spend loads of money on all the gear I needed, and a website and business cards and, all the things. And believe me, I was going to be the new Oprah Winfrey of whatever, industry it was at that time. And it's very destructive because you focus to the point where you ignore everything else. I'd get really irritated if the kids would want something, or if I'd have to cook dinner, or because, how dare you distract me from this really important work that I'm doing.
Tunnel vision to a sense as well.
Very much so. And then, of course, it would be that inevitable decline right into the depths of depression, where I couldn't get out of bed. And
both of these things hitting you.
Absolutely. And
so I was antidepressants still, or no?
What's that?
Were you still on antidepressants during this period?
I was still on antidepressants. Wow. Now, once I was diagnosed, they suggested that as well as taking my antidepressants, I also take a mood stabilizer. Now, I didn't need, because they thought I was kind of borderline bipolar 1 and 2. I didn't need an antipsychotic. So they put me on a mood stabilizer. So that kind of helped level out the highs, and then the antidepressant helped level out the lows. And I'm very blessed, very, very blessed in that I found a medication that worked for me immediately. Wow. And whilst it's taken some tweaking over the years, and of course there are side effects to every medication, the same medication has worked for me over all these years. And you were talking about, had I never been questioned about other possibilities in terms of a diagnosis. And the difficulty with bipolar is that it usually takes over 10 years to diagnose.
Wow.
Because you never go to the doctors when you're feeling fabulous.
This was where my question was coming from before. Like, you had gone to seek out help for your mental health. So I'm really curious as to what happened and what was the breakdown into why they weren't able to diagnose this earlier. Is it usually the case? How much do you know? Like, is it usually the case that the individual has to go and say, I might have bipolar, can you please check if I do? Or can it come from the health professional, or it usually doesn't?
I guess it could come from the health professional if the person was describing their erratic, manic or hypermanic behavior. So that might kind of trigger the clinician to say, hang on a minute, that behavior seems a little excessive. But of course, when I was hypermanic and feeling fantastic and like I could change the world, I thought that that's how everybody felt when they weren't depressed.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I just thought that was normal, and everybody felt, motivated and
the bipolar was being defined as just depression.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So, and that is often the case. And the difficulty when you have bipolar and you're just on antidepressants, it actually can be really dangerous because it can send you either into a manic episode or it can make you suicidal. And I was very lucky in that whilst I was up and I had some very deep lows, it was never so extreme that actually I acted on anything.
Yeah, we've got a few. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, Sharon, it's so amazing, and there's so much more. But
there's so much. There's a couple of comments here directed at you, just specifically saying.
So Lana said, "So brave to be so open and honest about your diagnosis. Hearing your story will help so many people."
With hands up.
Yeah.
With the emotion.
And Zena has said, "Thank you so much for kicking stigma to the curb by talking about your mental health issues so openly."
Yeah.
And Sharon, you really are. This is exactly what I was talking about. You are an open book. You get what you see with Sharon, and I'd love for you to continue. So you've gone through the diagnosis of depression
with obviously permission from Tom as well.
Oh yes, we need Tom's permission.
All right, Tom, to carry on. Can I? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, he's good.
Really
Okay,
stern.
okay.
So yeah, well, thank you, Joey, because this is very heavy stuff, and I think we need to keep it light in times and give ourselves a break. So thank you for that, Joey. That's actually really nice. But I would like to continue, Sharon, if you're up for it. Definitely, yeah, awesome. So the first diagnosis, depression, moving into bipolar. Now moving forward from there, I know there's more to the story. As people who have seen How Mad Are You would know. So would you like to continue?
Yeah, sure. So I actually have diagnosis of anxiety, which I've had since I was a young kid. I'd have a lot of anxiety about going into school, and my primary school was 2 doors away from my house, and my mum would often come home and find me sitting on the doorstep sobbing. And I also have been diagnosed with complex PTSD, and that comes from living with domestic violence when I was a teenager.
We've heard so far, we've heard four
diagnoses.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, so which also, all of those have, individually have an impact on people's lives, but often people with one diagnosis will have other diagnoses as well. So it is challenging, and often I will think, this isn't fair. Why me? Why did I have to go through these things? Why can't I be normal?
Yeah, it's scary, it's lonely sometimes, it's frustrating.
Absolutely. And but the fact is that I do have them, and I can't do anything about it other than try and manage them. I'm never going to be cured. I'm never going to get over them. I manage them.
You're doing so much more than just managing them through your openness to speak about them, because there are so many people who are going to listen to this or watch this back, and they're going to hear your story, and they're going to be compelled to maybe go and seek out help. And maybe they have depression and they're going through the same thing as you. And maybe that's going to be their trigger to go and find out, hey, maybe I do have bipolar as well. People are going to hear this, that you've had postnatal depression, and that it took a long time to work through that. It wasn't something that was over in a second.
Yeah.
These different ideas and thoughts, these are things that aren't discussed, but they need to be discussed more and more openly so other people can learn. If we go through all these adversities and we don't learn a lesson and we don't educate others, it sort of goes astray. And I just have to keep saying, thank you so much, Sharon, for being so open and sharing this story with us.
Well done. Good rant. That was awesome.
Oh, look, for me, I've always said, I say always, since I've emotionally been in a strong place, I've always said that if me sharing my story helps just one person, then it brings purpose and meaning to everything I've been through.
Last one.
That is perfect, Sharon. We say the same thing. We're just looking for that one person who we can help. And I'm sure this is going to help more than one person. And there's just so much positivity coming through the comments.
What did Ricky say?
Ricky said, I really respect your courage in talking so openly about these issues and raising awareness. And Cameron said, yay, Sharon. So
Cameron didn't say yay, Sharon. He
what
said,
did he say?
Yay, Sharon!
Yeah, Sharon!
Yeah, it's in capitals, mate. You gotta be contextual, okay?
Love you, Cameron. So getting back to your question, how did I kind of get to the How Mad Are You thing? So a number of years ago, I decided that I wanted to start making a difference, and I wanted to talk about my journey. So I became a lived experience speaker for Black Dog Institute.
Great organization.
Oh, fantastic organization. And
you want to tell the public who haven't heard about the Black Dog Institute a little bit about what they do?
Yeah, absolutely. So they help people with every mental health diagnosis, and they have fantastic support. They have fantastic information on their website. So any kind of mental health issue you've got, you can go on and research. You can ask questions. They do a lot of stuff out in the community. They have a lot of handbooks and paper information that you can get. So
mental health illnesses.
Absolutely. Yeah. And they have forums, online forums, that you can kind of connect with people. So they're really fantastic.
Yeah.
What's that?
What was your role with them?
Well, I was going out into the community and talking about mental health and my experience with my diagnosis, and then just talking about mental health generally. So that sometimes was with a community group or with a business or a networking organization. So I did,
did you find some real positives to that, doing that?
Getting over my own shit, I think, really was a big thing, particularly when it's in your own community.
Yeah.
You know, it's still, there was still an element of shame and embarrassment and
social stigmas.
Yeah. What will people think of me? Will they think that I'm some, crazy person who's going to start behaving irrationally? Do they think I'm dangerous perhaps, or can't be trusted, or any of those things? But I found that the more I spoke about it, and knowing that the more it helped people, because people would say, wow, actually I've been struggling, or my sister has some problems, or my friend has some problems, and you've made me feel more normal and more accepting.
Well, on the comment of normal, we've got Kylie here who has said there is no normal. What is normal these days?
What is normal?
And I love that. That's great, Kylie. And she's also said, love how open and honest Sharon always is.
That's kind of like the Shakespeare line.
What's the Shakespeare line?
I'm hoping that someone else brings it into context.
You might need to do it for us.
Yeah. I had it in my head, then I got drifted off. Sorry.
You're just trying to sound intellectual, aren't you?
I'm trying to match your intelligence, okay?
You wouldn't have to try very hard.
Humbleness, the humbleness.
Tom Hardy shaking his head in disappointment at you, Sharon. All right, so how mad are you? Talk to me about that experience. Was that good, bad? Do you regret it? Would you do it again?
Would I do it again? In a second.
Oh,
seriously, it was one of the most incredible experiences of my entire life. And so I don't know what your application process was, James, but I heard about it because I was on the list of lived experience speakers for Sane Australia, even though I actually never did any speaking engagements for them, which was bizarre. Yeah. But I applied to be on the show, and it was a very lengthy application process. So psychometric testing, we were interviewed, they spoke to my psychologist and my psychiatrist, and we then were interviewed by their psychologist, and
I loved your stand-up comedy gig that you had to do on the first.
Where I wrote "fuck" on a sign.
Please go just to watch the stand-up comedy.
That was such good fun. So, it was a very lengthy process, but I always knew that I would get in, and I knew, did I know? No, I didn't absolutely know, but I just had a feeling I would, because at the beginning of that year, I had put on my vision board that I wanted to be in a documentary about mental health.
There you go. Hey. Wow.
So vision boards do work. That's amazing.
They absolutely do. And of course, it's not just all about you putting it out there in the universe, giving it to you. You've got to work on these things,
You've got to, definitely take action.
You've got to do.
Exactly right.
Yeah, physically.
Yeah. So, as we had no clue what we were going to be doing, where we were going to be going. It was all
unknown.
It was, it was scary, but I think I know enough now to know that we would be safe and we would be looked after. And I guess I just came into it with the attitude of, this might be fun and I might meet some incredible people.
I personally just love the fact that the three professionals, and I'm not derating professionals at all, but it just gives you a perspective of the fact that you never know.
Yeah.
They didn't have much of an honest idea. They were writing notes and notes and notes, and they were incorrect with their diagnosis from viewing you guys.
Sharon, I don't know if you agree with me, but I feel like the most powerful thing that came out of How Mad Are You was to break down that stigma, to show that even professionals can't tell.
Yeah.
And just you just have to treat everybody just as a human being
Yeah.
on their individual merits. You can't go into things with judgment. You can't look at someone and base who they are on a diagnosis. It's you are so much more than a diagnosis.
A person.
I can throw all those diagnoses in the bin,
Yeah.
and I would still love you so much, Sharon. Like it's you are just such an amazing person. So it's just the stigma is really hard, and it's something that we're trying to break down through this documentary. And I think the more we talk about it, the more it's going to be broken down.
Yeah, and sharing it now. Sharing it now is what we're trying to do. You know, enlighten people on that. Look, Sharon's a much. I'm getting emotional thinking of how beautiful a person you are. And that what you said there was gold. I really want to make that big, was that you are such more of a person. Your person, who you are, is so much bigger than any label or any stigma given to you by society. And that needs to be accentuated. Yeah. That is so beautiful, man. I love that you said that. And I just wanted to make that clear.
Oh, thank you. It's to me, life is about connection. And I hope that anyone who comes into my life for whatever reason, be it they're a shop assistant, or they're a good friend, or they're somebody I just come across, work or something. What's that?
Fellow documentary participant.
Just feels that I always treat them with respect and with care, and like I see them, because everyone needs to feel seen and heard and valued. And at the basis of everything, I believe, is self-worth. And so many issues are caused by people's lack of self-worth.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter how much we get paid. It doesn't matter how many friends we have.
Yep.
It doesn't matter what car we drive or how many accolades we have. If we don't believe that we are good human beings and we are worthy of love, then it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah,
exactly right.
Self-love, man. That's so beautiful that she said that. That's been the topic of the month.
Empowering other people, empowering others, like not sitting back and watching others fail and pointing the finger and pushing them down and trying to push ourselves up, but lifting up others.
But there's no such thing as failure. There's no such thing as failure. It's only feedback. Only feedback. There's just a thought there.
There's so much positivity coming through from the comments for you, Sharon. It's so you're brightening up our day, and you're brightening up the lives of many others. And there's just so many. I want to jump in and read a few.
I want to try and pronounce this gentleman's name. Siosio Kapalelia Tuetupo. Hey, I know him. He's my brother's mate. I'm glad I logged into my first JJ Brothers live. Loving your laugh, Sharon.
Awesome.
Do you know what's really bizarre is I get so many people say that to me, and I just, and I don't mean this to try and sound, blasé or humble. I just don't get it.
I can tell you what it is, Sharon. It's like it's you. We're seeing into your soul when you laugh. There's no, it's not a fake laugh. It's just so genuine and authentic. And I think that's what's lacking in our society is a genuine, authentic human being.
Yeah.
And that is what you are. And we see that when you laugh. It's just you. It's so raw. It's perfect. And yeah, that's why I love it personally.
Yeah. and as we spoke about the other day, when we were so blessed to have a 5-minute, 40-minute conversation.
What Joey's saying is we planned on a 5 to 10 minute convo and it went for 45 minutes, I think.
Yeah. And we spoke about that, how powerful laughter is as a medicine and a healing energy.
Definitely.
How powerful.
Yeah.
If you didn't laugh, you'd just be sitting there like this, just bottling it all up. And it's something that we all have inside of us, yet a lot of people suppress it sometimes.
Yeah. And there's so many physiological benefits from laughter as well. It's mental health.
And we're not talking about forcing it like ha 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 ha.
You can do that as a joke, maybe, because that's pretty funny.
It's like force the laugh and then you will make it happen. Ha 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 ha. It's almost like a karate video game. Ha ha.
Sounded like you were constipated.
Yeah, constipated. Yeah.
I'd love to jump back in, Sharon. So you work for the Black Dog Institute, but you also work for a great organization called Lifeline. Can you tell us a little bit about Lifeline and what you did as your role there?
Yep, I worked there for just under a year, and I was the suicide prevention coordinator. So I organised and ran their suicide prevention workshops out in the community, which I loved, even though, of course, the subject matter is very challenging and very upsetting. For me, it was about helping others, empowering others to save lives.
That's so good.
Wow.
And of course, when people we know, or even people we don't know, are feeling suicidal, it's scary, it's terrifying, because what we want to do is drag them to safety, you know, whether emotionally or physically. And we can often feel really helpless as to know, you know, what to do and what to say. And so what we're tempted to do is, you know, say things like, you know, oh, you know, you're so blessed, and think of such and such who's got it so much worse. And of course, when you're in that place, you can't think that rationally, because you're in so much emotional and mental pain that it's not about wanting to die, it's about wanting the pain to end. Because it's so difficult. So we would run suicide intervention programs out in the community. There's a 2-day program called Assist, which is applied suicide intervention skills training, and that is a really, really comprehensive intervention training, and I highly recommend it to anybody to do.
Is that something you're still delivering?
No, because you need 2 people to deliver it and a support person. So you can provide it out, not working for an organisation, but I left Lifeline. The people I trained with had left before me, and it unfortunately just wasn't quite the same place. So I actually left and went back to running my own business. But what they do, the work that they do, is absolutely fantastic. And I recommend anybody go and do some suicide intervention training or the mental health first aid courses, because you just never know when you might need to help somebody.
Yeah, man. I was fortunate.
Advice.
That's tremendous advice, Sharon. I really hope people listen to that and take that advice. Feel compelled to save someone else. I was blessed to have that opportunity to save someone through suicide prevention, but I don't promote myself to be a professional at it. I was just, you know, one of my mates was going through some shit, and I just talked him through it and said, I'm here for you. Just those words I found, you know, I'm here for you.
Well, knowing that someone's there and you're not alone is a big deal. And loneliness is such a massive epidemic, and especially now, coronavirus forcing us to be alone in a sense. So just having friends is a big deal, and having friends that reach out for you. So that's great, Joey.
Yeah, and that's what we aim to do with this community. You know, talking to people like Sharon and building 100%. This community on, we're here for you.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, we're here to spread love and keep everyone as sane as possible.
100%. And now that you're saying everyone, Sharon, as you know, this is a live video, so we have some people asking questions already. But we do, anybody who's listening out there, all you people out there, if you have any questions for Sharon, please fire them through. So the first question we have here is from Lisa, and she said, Sharon, have you been recognized a lot since the documentary? And how did people in your life respond after it?
Look, people have actually what's that?
You stopped your laugh there.
Suppressed the laugh. Because we've been talking about it too much.
You stopped it.
Too conscious of it now.
You were going to go. Yeah, sorry.
No, people have likened my fame to that of, you know, the great Charlize Theron, Nicole Kidman.
That's how Tom Hardy has stood there this whole time.
It makes sense now.
I know, right? I know. Look, I've been recognised once by a woman in The Chemist who said, I hope you don't mind me asking, but were you on a TV show? Anyway, she said how much she enjoyed the show, but no. And I wonder if it's because it's still a taboo subject, and maybe people thought, I can't talk to her about it because she might be embarrassed, or
there is still that fear, that barrier.
Definitely. The stigma's still there, and the stigma's still alive, and that's what I hope we can help break down.
Break down the stigma.
Yeah, absolutely. So no, I haven't been recognised a lot.
Well, neither have I, to be completely frank. So a few of my friends that had floated out of contact with me sort of got back in contact, like, oh, saw you on TV. That's probably the most I got. Yeah.
And it sucks because, and I'm sorry to say this, guys, but because Netflix and all the big gurus, I'm not mean to taint them. Netflix is cool, right? Netflix and chilling is cool. But in a sense, actually, you know what? I'm going to tell you a quick story quickly, Sharon. Just
getting hot under the collar here.
I'm sorry. Before I knew what Netflix and chill meant, I knew I was the older generation. I heard it around, right? And I told this to my younger brother, Josh. I said, hey, bro, do you want to Netflix and chill?
Oh,
and he looks at me. He just looks at me and he goes, no, bro. And I was so puzzled. I'm like, what do you mean no? Why?
I've had a few of these moments with Joey. It's so funny, man.
And I'm like, bro, am I living under a rock? What the fuck did I just say?
Oh,
Let me break it down to you. And Josh is 10 years younger than me, so thanks, Josh, for breaking that down.
So there's so many beautiful comments. I just want to read a few of them. Never stop laughing, guys. It's the best medicine for your heart, mind, and soul. And I agree, it definitely is. And another comment: a problem shared is a problem halved. Always share. I really like that as well. That's Mona Mia. Thank you, Mona.
It's a beautiful name, Mona Mia.
Yeah, it is.
I like how it comes off the lips. Mona Mia.
Definitely.
Mona Mia. Sorry.
No, it's great.
My daughter's name's Miller, so I resonate with that.
Yeah. So Sharon, we've kept you for quite some time. I'd like to leave on maybe giving the people some facts or tips. If they're going through any of the struggles that you were going through, can you give any advice to those out there who are struggling and who may need to seek help but are too embarrassed, too shy, too worried about social stigmas? Do you have any advice for those people?
Things that have helped you specifically,
I think the big thing, the most important thing is tell somebody. Yeah. And it doesn't matter if it's a family member, a friend, a helpline, a doctor, a counselor. Please just talk to somebody, because it could be the starting point for a better life.
Amazing.
Trustworthy, yeah? Someone you can trust with that too.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And, there is nothing that you could go to the doctors with that they haven't seen, unless it's strange things in strange places, in which case you probably should be at the emergency department. But, they're a safe place. And if you go to the doctors and you don't feel that you're being heard, go to another doctor's.
Don't give up.
I love that so much. And it's something that a message has come through from some of our other guests, that you shouldn't stop on your first medical professional if you don't agree with their diagnosis. And the same with, like you said before, if you don't agree with the medication, or if the medication's not working for you, do not stop. Listen to yourself, empower yourself to go out and seek further help.
Keep going.
You don't need to just accept something because somebody with a degree has said so. Please advocate for yourself.
You're not alone. And that's what we try to offer here, just a space that we're not going to try and solve your issue directly. We have the network to pass you on to.
Exactly right.
And I'm sure, Sharon, you're the same. If you can't solve someone's problem, you think it's a little bit out of your jurisdiction, you'll pass them on to someone.
Exactly right.
Who you believe is trustworthy and is great at what they do, and help that person. There is help around. There is help around always for people struggling. Just reach out to people you can trust. And we know you can trust Sharon, you can trust James, and you can definitely trust me.
How about Tom Hardy?
He loves dogs, so I think we can trust Tom. But you were saying about being an advocate for yourself. I think it's also important that we be an advocate for others. And an example of that is, if your child is struggling and you're not getting the response you want from a health professional, go and see someone else.
Yes.
Because we know our kids best.
Yes.
And, sometimes for yourself or for your child or your family member, the first therapist isn't the right one. Sometimes the fifth therapist isn't the right one. I've seen a few in my time.
Yep.
When you find the right one, they're fantastic. But don't feel that just because you've had a referral that you have to stay with that person.
Great.
You have to feel safe with them. Otherwise,
trust your gut. Trust it and keep going.
Absolutely.
Trust your gut.
Yep.
Trust it and keep going.
Yeah. And then, sorry, one more thing. I was going to say, if someone comes to you and says that they're struggling, really hear them. Don't brush them off, and you might feel scared. You might feel that you need to fix them.
It costs nothing to listen, doesn't it? Just to
Absolutely
listen to somebody,
That's all you need to do is listen.
Listen.
Thank you so much, Sharon. You have been a godsend, and this podcast, I'm sure it's going to help and the tools to so many people out there. So thank you so much, Sharon. This is Sharon Chisholm from How Mad Are You? Sharon, thank you so much. Many words of advice, many tools that people are going to build on. And just thank you so much. Thank you for being you.
My pleasure.
You have a wonderful evening. We'll speak to you soon.
All right. Bye, boys.
Thank you, Sharon. Wow.
Wow. W-O-W?
Yes.
Wow.
Sharon Chisholm, how open and honest and beautiful is she? She's just so raw. And
dude,
I know that was a heavy podcast, and I hope it didn't impact anyone. But if it did, please do yourself justice and look for that help that you need right now. If you need to get in contact with us, and we can put you onto somebody.
Yeah.
But just that was a heavy conversation, and I just hope that it falls on soft ears and people and take the best out of that and really
take it on,
take her advice, and learn from her adversities.
It's hard to trust people these days, James. It's hard. There's so much fucking opinion out there. There's so many different views, so many different biases. Who the fuck do you trust?
So Mona Mia said, reach out and touch somebody.
Heart. I feel like a little ragdoll, man. You're so strong, man.
Oh, man. There's so many comments, and thank you so much for all the people that have tuned in. We have Adam Halabi, who's been trying to get us our attention. I think he wants us to scratch our heads. Hey, Adam, how you going?
Yeah, he's the owner of Best Friends Butcher.
Oh, your Best Friends Butcher. Awesome.
Yeah.
Tanya Scott says it costs nothing to be kind. It absolutely doesn't. It is just a choice to make.
It is the cheapest sedative.
Sally Toomer says, thank you. Sally Toomer is my grandmother. Thank you so much, Nana, for tuning in. I love you so much.
How cool is that?
That is awesome.
How tech witty.
She is amazing.
That's awesome.
What else have we got? We've got Lisa saying, Joey, you're a funny man.
Thank you.
And we're going to jump off the comments. Joey, tell me, how did you feel through that? I know a lot of that was close to home for you.
Yeah, man, which I'm really looking forward to spending my own one of our own podcasts talking about our own personal diagnoses or life experiences.
So I think that's going to be around episode 8.
Yeah, episode 8. So in a few episodes' time. But during the course of Sharon's story, man, I was in awe. I was inspired.
Yep.
And I was thankful. So many great emotions, grateful as well, because you don't often see a powerful story like that with 4 diagnoses, and she's always laughing. Those who know her truly, she's always laughing, kicking on and moving forward, laughing, and not so much that she's blasé about entire life. She's got her head in the right place.
Definitely.
So she's someone you can trust.
Well, I just love that you said that, because that's one of the most impactful things, that if you know something's wrong and you're sitting still, how's it going to get better? You need to do something. You need to take action.
Take action.
Your body is telling you something.
Do it.
You have to listen. You have to, if you need to meditate in order to tune into your body and what you're feeling, or if you need to just write it down and journal, but tune into yourself, because your body will tell you something's not quite right now.
Yeah.
And when it does, get out there and get some help. Don't settle on that first doctor if they're not the right one for you. Don't settle on that first medication if it's not the right one for you.
Yeah.
But definitely take action.
And we don't mean take action as in punch a fucking hole in the wall, okay? Because hey, we've got to be careful, right? If you're angry and we're saying take action, you got to try and take a breather. But there's so many things we can divulge.
But maybe
into.
that's the action they're taking, by cooling down, meditating, lowering that energy.
Yeah.
But when I say take action, it definitely means to get out there and seek help.
Yeah.
Don't allow yourself to sit in your own emotions. Sadness or negative emotions.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Let it become a Tyrannosaurus Rex in your head.
Your arms are way too long for a T-Rex, mate. That's better.
Anyone see that video that the guy doing a Tyrannosaurus Rex? Like the.
I've seen a lot of those T-Rex, the inflatable costumes. They're hilarious. They're so funny.
But essentially, if you're in your head so much, right, it becomes a Tyrannosaurus Rex, and everything just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
So we're just trying to acknowledge that the action to help that before it becomes that stage.
I think it's something that we spoke about earlier in the week. Complicating your own life. if you're not taking action, you're allowing these negative things to grow, like you're saying, into that T-Rex, into that monster.
Yeah.
If you get it while it's small and little, you might be able to get on top of it before it becomes a big deal.
Correct. And that's what we want to do. But when it becomes a big deal, we still want to encourage you to take action by reaching out.
Definitely.
You know, loneliness, man. Loneliness is the next month topic, I believe.
Loneliness is a big deal. And yes, it's going to be the next 4 to 5 sessions will be, that's the theme. And it is a big deal, loneliness.
I'm so blessed for you, brother, because during the week we go through so many things, much wisdom, so much awareness, so many lessons quickly. And we've just started this business. You know, there's challenges we face that we're conquering. But one of the things I was blessed with specifically was a conversation you had with a cousin of yours. And you blessed me with this tiny bit of awareness with like fear versus pleasure, fear and pleasure.
And I think it's something that you actually had heard of before in just a different way.
I had, but just a different way of hearing it, as if when when you're fearful, you try to avoid pain, and you close off, and you don't want to impact anybody else.
Yeah, exactly.
But when you are in a strong state, when you're strong, you tend to seek desires and pleasures. It's so powerful, man.
100%. And to unpack that more, if like using loneliness as the perfect example, you might be going through depression, and that depression causes you to steer away from people and sort of isolate yourself and make yourself more lonely. And you're actually compounding the effects of whatever's going on for you, and it's actually going to grow and get worse.
Yeah,
it's tough. It's tough.
There's so many songs out there. Akon, yeah, that was a bad impersonation.
But what we're saying is, don't allow yourself to fall deeper. If you can, take action, and please help yourself and reach out.
And how do you take action is another good question.
Yeah.
How do you take action consistently?
So today there's a lot of great organizations that were mentioned. So the Black Dog Institute, they have a lot of information.
Black Dog.
If you're confused about what's going on for you, you have a whole lot of feelings and emotions that you can't explain that are different to how they were last week maybe or last year. The Black Dog Institute has a lot of information there that you can sort of find some type of, maybe you find a diagnosis for yourself, and that you then can go to a doctor or a professional to diagnose yourself. Or maybe you're just learning more about the different conditions that are out there.
Yeah.
And then if there's an acute issue, 000.
Yeah.
000, simple.
Yeah.
Maybe going to your friend, Joey.
Hey,
I need some help. I'm going through a tough time.
Let
That's
me hear
taking
you out.
action.
Let me hear you out. Let me
Lifeline, another great organization. Lifeline have people on the phone ready to take your call. If you're younger, Kids Helpline.
Yeah.
Great organization.
Perfect.
There are so many out there. And
the Banksia.
The Banksia Project, definitely.
The Banksia Project.
Maybe
I love how you said that with passion.
What we can do is we can list a few organizations under today's episode and
happy to do
just
that, man.
share that with the people.
Yeah. Sharon just commented again. Hey, Sharon. Hey, we miss you.
Sharon's back.
We
so she
miss
said,
you.
just something I meant to mention in the chat is that even though we are all stable in the show, not everyone is blessed enough to be that way.
Yeah.
Some people never find the right treatment. That's so true, Sharon. And it's really unfortunate that people don't find the right treatment. And that's a sad thing.
It is, man.
Yeah.
It's truly sad. So keep going. Sharon's advice was, if you don't find the right one, keep going.
Definitely.
Keep going, man. I know personally, Miller's got some health issues sometimes, and we've gone through like 20 doctors, 20 different GPs until we found someone. We finally found someone, and what she said, when you find someone, you know, you just know, you know. So we're so blessed. Like, so keep going, guys. So
thank you so much. I'm James, and this is Joey.
Yeah, please please share our stuff. Look forward to next week with a beautiful friend of mine, Sarah Banana. Yeah.
Well, tell us a little bit about Sarah.
Yeah, sure. She is a beauty velvet and wellness.
Oh, wow.
Velvet and wellness. She runs a beautiful health. So we're leaning into the health space now.
Yes, definitely.
And wellness. And she's really intuitive, and she's a beautiful woman. So we're looking forward to continuing the woman progress.
Awesome.
Women, power to the women.
Girl power.
Yeah, I forgot to wear this thing, but I'll wear it next week.
Okay, let's just leave it off screen so no one can see it.
Yeah.
So we are the JJ Brothers. We are on Facebook as the JJ Brothers 2020, Instagram as the JJ Brothers 2020. We're also going live on all the audio podcast apps, or most of them anyway. And if there's any out there that we're not on, please let us know and we'll try and jump onto them.
Yeah, Spotify, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Podbean,
iTunes, or Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts.
iHeartRadio.
Exactly.
iHeartRadio.
So many of them.
Yeah.
And of course, we're coming to you here on Facebook Live. So thank you so much for joining us. And until next time, next week, next Thursday, we're not sure on the time, but we'll let you know sometime this week.
Reach out, guys. May time be your best friend. Thank you so much.